je offline, tak stále vás počúva. Dámy a páni, aká je teda budúcnosť našich domácností? Prosím, to sa spýtajme Matthew Griffina. Hi.
Thank you. Everyone, how are you all? Excellent. I think it's the fourth time I've been here. So every time I come, basically something has changed. Every time I come, we're moving further and further into the future, faster and faster. So how many of you are actually feeling that the future is fasting? The future is moving faster today than at any other point in history. Hands up? Yeah. And we're only getting faster. So in this particular presentation, I'm going to be talking about the most important place in your lives. The place that you call home. Not just the region that you live in, but your actual home, but with a twist. So welcome to the perfect neighborhood. When we have a look at the planet Earth, today we actually need 186 million new homes to be built because the population is growing that fast. So let's walk you through what some of these homes of the future might look like, but using today's technology. Because the technology that we have today is already science fiction-like. It just takes a while for it to get here and for you to be able to use it. So when we have a look at the perfect neighborhood, there are lots of urban planners around the world that talk about the concept of a 15-minute city. The concept of a 15-minute city is that you can reach any kind of service that you need, whether that's a doctor's service, whether that's your supermarket, within 15 minutes. Now, as a little bit of a twist, conspiracy theorists have jumped on this and said what we actually mean by a 15-minute city is we keep you within 15 minutes of your home. And that's a little bit idiotic. So I put this in for a little bit of a twist. Every time we develop a new good idea, there are lots of other people that twist it into something rather malicious. And as a futurist, I get lots of those people coming to me because I have all of the craziest conspiracy tech you can imagine. However, so while we actually might live in a 15-minute city, increasingly we'll be able to get everything within 15 minutes. Now, I know basically for the younger generations, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, do I really have to wait 15 minutes for everything? Especially in our on-demand world where you're used to just clicking it and 2 seconds later it's done, it's arrived. Now, in the UK and around the world, we see a lot of organizations like Amazon, for example, trialing drone deliveries. Now, 69% of the cost of getting goods to you is in that last mile. So this is really the delivery and the logistics companies' attempts not just to get things to you faster, but to reduce their own costs. And drones are a great way to do that. From a neighborhood perspective, we will have green as standard. Did you know that your mental health, if you live in a green area, places with trees, parks, grass, places to walk, your mental health is 20% better than people who live in grey brick-built cities. So the sensible urban planners out there are designing neighborhoods that are literally green. But green has another benefit in the future that we're headed into, because when we have a look at climate change, as our cities get hotter, green neighborhoods are cool. But as a twist, we're seeing more artificial intelligences planning our neighborhoods than ever before. And they're getting really quite good at it. They do it in simulation. Cool and fresh as standard. Now, all this kind of sounds rather strange, right? Cool and fresh. So green spaces are cooler as we head into a warmer world, but fresh? Did you know that 6.7 million people around the world every year die because of air pollution? So in India, in a lot of the parks, they're now putting gigantic 2 to 3 story air purifiers to purify neighborhood air. But in addition to that, to try to give you a fresh neighborhood, we're electrifying the world. We're electrifying vehicles. We are electrifying industry. We are getting rid of fossil fuels. So increasingly, we hope that your neighborhoods will be cool and fresh. And as odd as that might sound, that shouldn't be an exception in today's world. Driverless by design. So with organizations today, we see kind of Tesla and Mercedes at what we call category 3 semi-autonomous driving. But as we head into the future, we see fully autonomous vehicles coming down the road. I mean, when we have a look at vehicles today, they sit on your driveway 95% of the time, looking very nice, admittedly, depending on the Porsche that you have. However, this is just simply where we talk about unimodal travel. If you want to go from your house to somewhere else, you just call up essentially a pod. And with unimodal travel, that pod will take you to the train station, it will board the train, so you don't have to actually change the vehicle that you're in, take you to your destination. So when we talk about the future of transport, that's a very different kind of future to the multimodal future that we talk about in so many cases. Increasingly, we are 3D printing buildings. Now, a 3D printed building like a 4-bedroom house, we can 3D print a 4-bed house 95% faster using robotics than you can build a house in a traditional way. And we can build them 90% cheaper. We can build them out of carbon negative materials or even biomineral materials. And a biomineral material is a kind of material that as it cracks, because a lot of houses have cracks, those materials self-heal. But we can also 3D print carbon nanotubes into the buildings, so we're turning your building into the battery. So as we move towards a renewable energy future, your house is its own grid-scale storage. Now, when we have a look at energy, most of the solar panels that people have on their roofs today, if they have them, are about 17% energy efficient. But if you add a bacteria to a solar panel, that solar panel is 50% efficient. If you reclaim heat from it, it's 80% efficient. And we have solar panels that are 132% energy efficient already. We can already generate electricity when it's raining. We can generate electricity when it's cloudy. We can generate electricity when it's snowing. And we even have solar panels that work at night, which means that you end up with 24/7 energy. But the more energy that your house produces, the more surplus energy you have, you can sell that back to the grid. So suddenly your house is now starting to make you money. When we talk about climate, we have organizations in Italy that have climates that follow you about. So you will have one climate in your house, and as you walk through, it will follow you. But as your partner walks through the house, he or she will have a different climate. However, if we're talking about a smart, connected home, what happens basically when we start embedding Web3 technologies into that home? Your home has a huge amount of computing power already. And so increasingly we're seeing organizations that use the computing power in your home to mine cryptocurrency. So now your home is actually making you crypto and it's making you money in new ways. But when we have a look at things like fridges, organizations like Samsung can take a smart fridge and embed it with an artificial intelligence, like a robo-wealth advisor. And as your smart fridge buys new products like milk, everyone buys milk. If you're buying milk for €1 and 1 million other people in Slovakia need to buy milk, your fridge can form a buying consortium. And because it can form a buying consortium, it can get a better price on your milk. It can save you, say, 20 cents. That doesn't sound like much. But using decentralized finance trends, your fridge can say, I saved you 20 cents on your milk, as well as all your other groceries. Would you like me to invest it for you? And what we've seen with robo-wealth advisors is the returns are about 64%. So the money that your home saves can then be invested so you can buy a Porsche, thanks to your fridge. Now, when we talk about the interface for the home, voice on the one hand is going to be an interface, but thanks to digital humans, your home can have a human face or an avatar, or it can have any kind of look or face or interaction that you like. But increasingly, as we see conversational artificial intelligence emerge, you can start having a conversation with your house. I mean, what you talk about, I don't know. But you can have a conversation with your house. And when we have a look at what it can sense everything. Now, what I mean by that is we can turn the Wi-Fi in this room into a kind of sonar. And using just Wi-Fi in this room, I can tell who's in the room because I can pick up your biometrics at the millimeter level. I can listen to your voices using Wi-Fi, so I can tell how well or how ill you are. So when we have a look at senses, increasingly with quantum sensors, like those out of the University of Surrey, I can have sensors embedded into the walls that read your mind. And you can communicate with your home telepathically if you want. Now, this sounds crazy, but we did this 5 years ago. So telepathy is not sci-fi. But brain-machine interfaces, we push that horizon out a little bit. Why talk to your house when you can just think and it gets stuff done? Robot assistants, organizations like Samsung are trying to develop what we call generalized or general purpose robots. Now, a general purpose robot is a robot that you show it how to do something once. You show it how to load the dishwasher once, and it learns it fine. It doesn't have to be programmed and everything else. Now, I did a series basically with Samsung on the year 2069, and the vast majority of people who when asked basically what they actually wanted, they said, we want robots that will do all of our housework for us. These robots are coming. However, when you have a look at the venture capitalists in America, they say, we reckon that most people will be happy paying $20,000 to $30,000 for a robot at home that does all the laundry, serves you wine, makes your meals and everything else. And let's face it, you're not going to want to pay $20,000 to $30,000 even if it's over a spread payment. In order for robotics to really become ubiquitous in the home, they need to be reaching sub $2,000, or they need to be very cheap as a service. And yet, Elon Musk reckons we will have 1 billion humanoid robots by 2040. Some in industry, some in the home. And then, of course, we've got robot vacuum cleaners, robot lawn mowers already. The robots are trying to come. But what about a house that manages itself? If a house can see the products that you've bought, the products you no longer use, the house can start putting the products that you no longer use onto Vinted or eBay or whatever it happens to be. If the house knows that you've run out of milk, run out of toilet paper, run out of ink for your printer, if it knows basically that your kids' shoes don't fit any longer, it can just buy them itself. So this is where the robots or the house itself is a customer to companies. And we've recently saw the first bot-to-bot cryptocurrency trade using something called a decentralized or deferred authorization network. So could your house start buying stuff for you and for itself? It's already possible. But when we talk about a house that predicts all of your needs, having sensors within the home is one thing. But if you're at work or you're at school and you're getting stressed, you'll have a wearable like this one. And this wearable can identify the cortisol levels in your blood, can identify that you're getting stressed at work or wherever you are. And your home knows that you're stressed. So when you get home, it's created the right music for you. It's set the lights to the right tone or right temperature. And it's set the temperature to the right temperature as well. So this is where increasingly the home knows how emotionally well you are, how stressed you are, how you feel when you're away from the home. And so when you get home, it's already made your favorite meal for you. And when we talk about entertainment, we have Gene Roddenberry. So Gene Roddenberry, basically, they created the Star Wars franchise, or the Star Trek franchise, sorry. Gene Roddenberry is trying to create a holodeck. Now, if you know Star Trek, a holodeck basically is this kind of immersive world and everything else. We can do it using something called parallax screens. However, your home is connected to the cloud. And using generative artificial intelligence, it can make the movies that you want to see. We call these procedural content movies. It can make the sound. So if your house knows you're stressed, it doesn't play your favorite playlist. It can create the music for you using artificial intelligence. And the music that it creates is explicitly just for you. No one has ever listened to it before. When we have a look at food, increasingly we have people who are using miniature vertical farms within their homes. I mean, they're these little sort of agroponics devices. Nestle in Japan are 3D printing food. And when we 3D print food, it has all of the right nutrients, vitamins, and minerals for you. And it looks really odd. It can look in any kind of shape. But also, from a food perspective, thanks to NASA and Mars technology, we can make food from air. So we take bacteria, we combine them with electricity and water, and we can create protein, which you turn into meat from air. So all of these different technologies can be embedded into your home. And then we can do this today, by the way. Now, in America especially, healthcare is incredibly expensive. But what if all the sensors and cameras basically around your house were a form of telehealth? So as you're walking around your house, the house, thanks to Wi-Fi or cameras, whatever, realizes that you're walking a bit funny. Now, it either realizes you've got a bad back, or it realizes that you haven't taken your Parkinson's medicine. Using sensors in your home today, basically we can track your blood pressure, your heart rate, your emotions. We can tell whether or not you have pancreatic cancer, skin cancer, whether you are depressed, happy, or sad. Because if you're sad, you're walking around like this, right? Using all the sensors in your house, especially Wi-Fi, we can tell whether you're upset. By listening to your voice, it can tell whether you have the onset of Alzheimer's, dementia, PTSD. So the doctor is always in. But by combining all of this information together, because we've done it, we can predict that you're going to get ill. And increasingly, we can predict what you're going to get ill with. So if you listen to people and they get a gravelly voice, it's like, hello, hello. You know they're getting a cough, right? This is a vocal biomarker. So the house, by listening to your voice, think about Alexa, etc., listening to your voice, it can pick up that your voice has changed slightly and you're now sounding a bit gravelly. And it says, your voice has changed, I think you're getting ill, here's a doctor's prescription. There we go. But in addition, when you combine a house basically with quantum computing and artificial intelligence, it could actually just 3D print the cure for you and then have it delivered by drone. But because your house is connected and because it can listen to you if you give your devices permission, it can understand that you're a little bit sad, depressed, stressed, whatever. And it can start listening to you, but using telepsychiatry, it can be your psychiatrist. It can say, hey, Dave, you sound stressed. Did you have a bad day at school? Tell me what the matter is. In the United States, there's an organization that so far has done over 6.5 million telepsychiatry appointments. And it's just a bot. It listens to you, and then it responds. But as AI gets smarter, telepsychiatry across China and Asia and Europe is on the rise. But what about security? So last year, criminals took $1.2 trillion in crypto and ransomware revenues. Some of that's from business. About 60% of that is from you guys, consumers. We've been scammed. I saw 200,000 people being scammed 2 weeks ago on YouTube in a Cristiano Ronaldo and Elon Musk deepfake video that was promising double your crypto. And they drained 100 million from people's crypto wallets. So what if your house was embedded with security? Not just CCTV, but Wi-Fi. We can turn Wi-Fi into a radar, essentially, that sees outside your house for motion sensors. But when we have a look at cyber, what if the house that you bought came with its own fully autonomous, agentic cyber defense system? So anything that's in your house, anything that you are using in your house is protected by a cyber defense system. And this is all very well and good. But if your house is listening to you, if it understands you better than you, if it can predict what you need when you need it and then buy it, etc., what about privacy? Because the fact of the matter is, the companies that are providing all these services, or that will provide, or could provide all these services, want your data. Most companies make 1/3 of their money from your data. So this is where we should have data wallets. So we can talk about sovereign ID systems, but the concept of a data wallet is simply a wallet on your phone that you can turn the privacy settings on or off for particular things. You control the level of privacy that you want through a simple data wallet for everything. The regulators are nowhere near this, but we can do it. However, when we actually have a look at this kind of home of the future, it all sounds great. We can do it today. It just happens to be a little bit too out of this world. So, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gave you a very different perspective on the future of your home and the future of technology. And I'm going to be on a panel later, so if you have any questions, do feel free just to come up and see me. Thank you very much.
Matthew, everything you said sounded great, so that's the reason why we'll keep you here for a while longer.
Yep, that's it.
So please don't leave the stage. But I will change your communication partner here on stage.
That's
Myself with other.
Yep.